The year was 2008. August Osage County, In the Heights, and a revival of South Pacific dominated the 62nd Tony Awards with a combined 31 nominations and 16 wins between them. Meanwhile, on June 1st, the musical Rent ended a landmark 12-year run on Broadway consisting of over 4,300 performances. All of those shows successfully made it to the stage, which is where they differ from the play at the center of one of the year's most complex and divisive films. But Rian never saw it. Until now. This is Movies I Missed 2008, Episode 5, Synecdoche, New York.
I'm Jesse Munoz.
I'm Ryan Miller.
This is Movies I Missed 2008, Episode number 5. Today we are talking about the film Synecdoche, New York, released October 24th, 2008, with a running time of 2 hours and 4 minutes. I want to give a warning that we will be discussing all aspects of this movie. That includes spoilers. Synecdoche, New York is a 2008 surreal drama written and directed by Charlie Kaufman, starring Philip Seymour Hoffman, Catherine Keener, Michelle Williams, and Samantha Morton. It follows Caden Cotard, a theater director struggling with his crumbling marriage, declining health, and growing despair. After receiving a prestigious grant, he begins to create an ever-expanding stage play that mirrors his own life, blurring lines between art and reality. As the years pass and his production grows, Caden loses track of where the play ends and real life begins.
I won't settle for anything less than the brutal truth. Brutal. Each day I'll hand you a scrap of paper. It'll tell you what happened to you that day. You felt a lump in your breast. You looked at your wife and saw a stranger, etc.
Caden?
What?
When are we going to get an audience in here? It's been 17 years.
All right. I'm not excusing myself from this either. I will have someone play me to delve into the murky, cowardly depths of my lonely, fucked up being. And he'll get notes too, and those notes will correspond to the notes I truly receive every day from my God. Get to work!
Couple of plugs. MoviesIMissed.com is our website. We are also on Instagram and YouTube at Movies I Missed Podcast for both, and we're available anywhere you get podcasts, so please subscribe. All right, I know you've complained about my summaries in the past, and I kind of want to complain about my summary in this one as well.
I don't know if it's fair to say I complained about your summaries in the past.
Okay, you've nitpicked my summaries in the past. This movie, I mean, yes, everything I said is factually correct, but this is not a movie about a plot or a
I was going to say, how do you expect to be able to describe this movie having seen it?
Yep.
Really, all you can say is it's a Charlie Kaufman movie. Just
sure.
give it a try.
Sure. So this was my choice. I think this might have been on your short list too for movies to choose. No, wait, this was your choice.
This was my choice.
Flip that, reverse it. You chose it. It was also on my short list. Okay, so
I feel like we had a lot of crossover in our short lists when we were deciding what to watch. I mean, I feel like 2008 is a year you and I both saw a lot of movies already anyway.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So we watched this movie. What's your history with Charlie Kaufman? What are your feelings about him? And because this was his first directorial flick.
Yep.
But he had written a bunch of stuff in the past, mostly with Michel Gondry and Spike Jonze directing. I don't know, thoughts about Charlie Kaufman and this sort of style of storytelling?
I mean, I've always liked Being John Malkovich. I've always liked Adaptation, which he wrote and didn't direct. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind I've seen, and I know people who love that movie. I think the subject matter is interesting, but I've never thought the movie itself is great. Eternal Sunshine is one that I've definitely come around on. Like that, I feel like is like one of his darlings that I think everybody loves. And even though I've always been like a Jim Carrey fan, and I do like how weird the movie is, I just always felt like I never liked that movie as much as other people. I rewatched it maybe within the last year, and I feel like I liked it more than ever. I have seen his second movie he directed, Anomalisa, which is a stop motion animated movie.
Oh, okay.
It's I mean, it's an acquired taste. It's not bad, but I'm not going to say it like blew me away or anything. And then like I was looking at Charlie Kaufman just to be like, what else exactly has he done? I feel like I get him and Spike Jonze's careers kind of mixed up and confused.
I mean, there's a lot of crossover for sure. So
yeah, like sense. I couldn't remember, like, did Charlie Kaufman have anything to do with Where the Wild Things Are or not? And one thing that I discovered, like Charlie Kaufman's been working a lot longer than I thought he had. Did you know that he was a writer on the Dana Carvey show, the very short-lived? Like, I thought that was hilarious. I didn't know that.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, at the very least, I find him interesting. This movie specifically, I remember when it came out, it was like, you know, kind of the talk of, you know, cinema fandom at the time.
Yeah.
And it's a very, like, you know, cinephile kind of movie. And I think Roger Ebert loved it at the time. And something about the movie, like part of the reason I never saw it and have never gotten around to seeing it until now is something about the movie seemed intimidating to me. Like just the things I heard about it and like hearing it reviewed on movie podcasts I was listening to or whatever, it just sounded like it was going to be a slog or like a challenging watch, which to a degree it is. But like that's part of the reason that I never watched it, you know, in the past. And then like when it came time to like, all right, well, you know, we're going to pick movies we missed from that year. It's like a movie I always felt like I should have seen. And
being a cinephile for sure. Like,
yeah, so here we are.
Yeah, I think that was kind of, I honestly knew nothing about the movie. I had zero clue what the movie was about.
Yeah.
I knew Philip Seymour Hoffman was in it.
That's probably enough for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I freaking love Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's the big takeaway from this movie is that dude is just amazing. Like everything I see him in, he's so good, except for maybe Moneyball, but that's not his fault. I hate that movie so much.
I mean, he did nothing wrong in Moneyball. I know you don't like that movie, but
he was totally fine. But that movie sucks. So I'm trying to think.
Have you ever rewatched that movie?
I rewatched it recently, like a year ago.
Did you pull your head out of your ass before you watched it again?
No, I can't get over the fact that they leave out so much information. It like kills me that they never talk about the fact that they had the 3 best pitchers in baseball. They had the MVP playing shortstop. They never mention them one time in the movie. Like it's egregious. It's so egregious. I hate it. Like it's a well-made movie, well-acted movie, but the fact that they're missing so much information, like just blatantly huge information in that movie that would totally changes the entire movie because it's like so made up. It just, I can't watch it. I can't watch it knowing that information. It sucks.
I've been listening to Turner Classic Movies, has a couple different podcasts, but they have a podcast series that's called, I can't remember the name of it now. They do like seasons where they'll talk about a specific movie that had like a troubled path to the screen, or they'll talk about like the career of an actor or actress. So like I just listened to the 7-part series about Pam Grier's career, and it's all constructed of like storytelling and then interviews with all different people. So like Quentin Tarantino did a big interview because he directed her in Jackie Brown. And at the end of the season, they will release like special like bonus episodes that aren't part of the regular series because like maybe there was a really interesting story that Pam Grier told, but it didn't really fit into their narrative, or you know, Quentin Tarantino had so many things to say, let's just release his entire interview as like a bonus episode. Okay. I think as a bonus episode at the end of this season of Movies I Missed, we should dig up our old sidetracked review of Moneyball.
It just bothers me so much, man. Like I get that the movie is well made and well acted and it's interesting, but when you know all that information, it just like completely ruins it. Okay. But Philip Seymour Hoffman in everything is awesome. Like I honestly, one of the first things I remember seeing him in, because I missed a lot of stuff from his earlier career, was Mission Impossible 3, and just being so like terrified how different that character is, especially compared to all the different characters that he's played. You know, we watched Magnolia a couple of seasons ago, and it's a very different character from the character he played in Mission Impossible, which is a very different character that he played in this movie, which is a very different character that he played in like what was that movie with Ben Stiller, Along Came Polly or something like that?
That is the name of a Ben Stiller movie. I've never seen it.
Yeah. He's pretty funny. That different than Boogie Nights and different. I mean, he's just Doubt, I think, was this year. And that's a movie I remember when we watched on Sidetracked, was completely blown away by, you know, everything in that movie, including him. So he's just one of those guys. The Matt Damon movie we watched last season, Talented Mr. Ripley, he's got a small part in that and is super good. He's just like, it really sucks that he, had struggled with heroin or whatever and ended up dying early because we're robbed from so many excellent performances that he could have done. You know what I mean? Like he's just just one of my favorite actors of all time for sure. So
can't argue with that.
Yeah. So with Charlie Kaufman, I watched Being John Malkovich, I think last year or last season when we caught up.
It was 99, so it was the first season.
Okay, so two seasons
you watched it as like one that we didn't do for the show.
Yeah, and I loved it. I think it even made my top 10 list that year. Eternal Sunshine, I've loved since it came out, and I haven't seen an adaptation, or Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, but I struggle with this meta post-modern, just weird stuff. I just struggle for me. I always have a hard time. I feel like Yorgos, how do you say his name?
Yorgos
Lanthimos is not the same style of movie, but also delves into like weird existential stuff where it's like, it's an offshoot of our reality. It's not necessarily our reality, but an offshoot of our reality where things are weird and it's not weird to the people in the film. And there's like this, it's a play on trying to understand humanity, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, I definitely see what you're saying, and I understand the comparison. Something that I love is like, so you brought up Yorgos. The first movie of his that I saw was The Lobster.
Yeah.
And I remember going to see it in the theater just because I was like, the premise is if you can't fall in love, you get turned into an animal. I gotta see this, you know.
Right.
And it could have been like a comedy or an action movie for all I knew. And I came away really loving it. And it was hard for me to convince other people to watch it just because it sounds so weird at the time. But the thing I love about a movie like that is that, I like and can watch and enjoy any kind of movie, but I'm not generally going to reach for like a romantic drama or something, right? Mm-hmm. When I go to watch something like, oh, give me an action movie or a horror movie or something. But like through that weird ass premise, I think that is an incredible love story. Sure. And it's like there are great, just like straight up love stories, like, at the end of our first season of this show, I watched Notting Hill from 1999, and that is a straight up romance. Yes. Yep. And it was a good movie, but it took something like this show to make me finally sit down and watch it, Yeah. But like I love when, or a movie like About Time, which is like a little bit of time travel in there, but otherwise it's just like a great romance. And I think it's interesting. I didn't do a ton of reading about this movie after the fact. I did look up a couple things to try and understand it a little better, but I thought it was interesting that apparently initially it was like a studio after whichever movie was right before this that he worked on. A studio hired Charlie Kaufman and maybe Spike Jonze together, and they wanted them to like write a horror film.
Yeah.
And what they ended up deciding was instead of like, oh, ghosts are coming for you, they were like, let's write a movie about the things in real life that scare us. So like one of those things would be like getting older and dying and like finding the meaning in your life. And this is what they ended up with out of that. And I never would have guessed that it started as a horror film, but it's like through this very strange premise and like this weird style of telling a story to an audience, I think it's undeniably powerful, and it's like not hard to see like the emotions and the fears and whatnot that he was getting at in the movie. Now it is, like I said, it always kind of scared me a little bit because it sounded like a tough watch stylistically, but I ended up liking this quite a bit because I just love when a filmmaker can take, just like I said about The Lobster, like About Time, can take like a story that maybe I wouldn't always go out of my way to watch and then give it to me through a format of like something that's different. It's like, it's not just a guy like sitting around being sad because he's going to die one day. They like zhuzh it up with just this interesting premise and a strange way of like linking events together and like fucking with like the concept of time. And it's just, it takes that thing that is already dramatically powerful and just makes it more interesting to watch. And I like that about this movie.
Yeah, this is where we're going to differ. And I think it's how we've differed in our 14 or 15 or 20 years of podcasting. Like I remember how much you loved The Lobster, and I watched it and I just couldn't. It just wasn't for me. Like, it's just not for me.
You're more of a Notting Hill guy. I get it.
I'm definitely more of a Notting Hill guy. Like I need some sort of like humanity to grasp onto, and the weirdness, it just takes me out of it. Like it removes it from me. And I know for some people like you that it actually brings you in, but it does the exact opposite for me. So not to spoil our review, but I hated this movie. I fucking hated it. I hated this movie.
Wow.
I found it to be super pretentious, and this was tough. I felt like this movie was missing Spike Jonze. Like, I felt like that was the real. I feel like the movies that we talked about, like Being John Malkovich and Eternal Sunshine, especially those two movies, which aren't Spike Jonze, but one is Michel Gondry. I don't know. I don't know if Spike Jonze those directors bring something to it that I can somehow grasp onto through the weirdness of it all and the meta-ness and the whatever. For this, it was just such a hard watch. When I got about halfway through the movie, I'm like, I don't know if I can make this, man. Like I hate it. Like legit hate everything about this. But
I can't wait to hear this. But
I think I do want to talk more about not just what I think about it, but like I guess some of the cast and some of the crew before we get like too deep. Maybe through the cast we can get to some of it. So we talked about Charlie Kaufman. He's the writer and the director. I didn't write down any of the other crew because not that they weren't of note, but it's like mostly independent people who haven't done a lot of like notable stuff. The cinematographer and editor, or the things that they worked on were just not as flashy. As far as cast goes, we talked about Philip Seymour Hoffman. He is the lead, and he is this movie. Like the movie is solely working on this dude's shoulders. Like he is in almost every scene of the movie. I shared how much I love him. I'm guessing you feel somewhat similar.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I wouldn't say that I'm on the level of you because I know he's one of your favorites, but I'm always excited to see him pop up in something I'm watching. Yeah. And he's like, I think he's a rare actor who's like fully capable of carrying something like this.
Yeah.
Just his ability to reach depths of emotion. And I mean, I can only imagine how fucking difficult it must have been to make this movie, presuming that they weren't shooting in like chronological order, which I feel like would be impossible when making a movie that's this much of like just a 2-hour long montage of events. But just getting into and out of where he's at in his life and whatnot in every scene. And because like, man,
it's relentless. The movie is relentless in its dreariness.
Yeah.
In the sadness.
In the very beginning, it starts to play like a normal movie. And I remember the first time, which maybe is intended to be the first time that they really pull the rug out from under you, is, he has his opening and his wife stays home. And then he comes home and like she had stayed home to get some work done, and he comes home and she's getting high with her sister or whatever.
Is that her sister? I don't know.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, either his sister, either her sister or her friend or whatever.
I think it's her friend because she ends up being their daughter's lover.
So hopefully not the sister.
Yeah.
But like, and then like he goes to bed, and the next morning, like she tells him she wants to go to Berlin with just the daughter and not him, but they'll talk again when she's back in a month. And then all of a sudden, like a scene or two later, he's talking to someone and he's like, oh, she's just on vacation. She's only been gone a week. And whoever he's talking to is like, she's been gone a year. And I was like, wait, what? Is this real? And like from there, it just devolves into you never know what you can trust anymore.
Yeah.
And God, just again, like all the jumps in time and place and like, is this a dream, and how much of this is supposed to be getting to an actual event or just someone's like mental interpretation of an event? And like, did he like, I really wonder how much of this story was supposed to be literal. And obviously a lot of it is like, it's fantastical, but like within the fantastical telling of this series of events, like, did he actually go to Russia at any point? And if so, how many times? And like the scene when he like sees his daughter and she's in that like porno booth or whatever, like is that supposed to have actually happened, or is this just like the brain's interpretation of his emotions and like how he feels like she's been taken away from him and he like yearns to, you know, connect with her again? And just I don't know how Charlie Kaufman and Philip Seymour Hoffman were able to wrap their heads around all this shit long enough to actually like film the scenes and have them work. Yeah. And that's like super impressive to me. And yeah, I think that speaks volumes to Philip Seymour Hoffman's
100%
skills as an actor.
The one takeaway, like I said, I hate this movie, but his performance is like genuinely like impressive. To do what he did through 2 hours of the movie is insane, because again, the word that I keep coming back to is relentless, because it is relentless in its just sadness of this crumbling man, right? Like from the beginning, he is a sad sack, right? Like his wife kind of takes care of everything. He hits his head on the mirror, and as he's shaving,
well, he gets the fucking faucet shot into his face by the plumbing.
Right. But she takes care of everything for him, and I don't know. He's just kind of a sad sack, like, and that never changes. And that's maybe an oversimplification of what he is, but it's definitely someone who is dealing with and trying to cope with life as it comes by, and almost like is happening around him, like almost literally because of what happens with the play that he, quote unquote, play that he is then directing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Catherine Keener is in this movie for about 6 minutes, maybe. I was really, I mean, she's got some voiceover stuff towards the end of the movie, but she completely disappears after the beginning.
Yeah, I couldn't believe we never saw her again, but man, at the same time, it's like, I think that my interpretation, at least, of the fact that she literally completely disappears is, again, who knows if they were ever able to reconnect or anything. Like, if you take some things sort of at face value, like if the whole thing with the daughter and the tattoos ended up, like if that was real, like he at least saw photos of her in a magazine or whatever. But the only time we ever see Catherine Keener again is also in like that magazine article when he's sitting in the hospital or whatever. And it's almost like he's always trying to catch her and like meet up with her, and she's avoiding him. And it's like, we never see her again because it's like she's out of his life and like she's lost to him. And it's almost like the idea of like, I interpret it as like, if he never actually got to see her again, it's like, he knew her as this person, but like it's almost like he has no concept of what she is anymore because she's changed so much, and it's just like she's become a mystery to him or something. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the whole movie I was waiting for her to come back, and I couldn't believe that she never did.
Yeah, I thought they'd get a scene, especially when he becomes her cleaner, where they would actually confront that.
Yeah, but see, that's a thing where like I assume that that's not meant to be like literal in any way. Like I don't think he actually became her cleaner. Like maybe he did track her down and sneak into her apartment one time. I don't know, but like I just assumed they never came into contact again.
It's the one joy he found in life was cleaning. It's like the one thing that he actually enjoyed.
Yeah, I mean, depending on your interpretation, it's like one thing he could control, you know, because he can just sit there like in the beginning with a toothbrush and just like clean every inch of something and be able to control it. And like, you know, the whole movie also reads as like a midlife crisis and like just probably this feeling of, yeah, you've lost control of everything and your life is driving away without you. But like any little thing you can latch on to that you can be in charge of, like cleaning. Yeah. And, you know, that's potentially where like some form of obsessive compulsion comes into play with, you know, people with certain kinds of mental illness. And there's just a billion things you can read into it. And I'm not sure how many of them to latch onto, but it's like I could see these pathways just passing me by of like, oh, we could do a whole movie down that hallway about this. But no, we're on to this other thing.
Yeah. So he ends up in relationships with two different women. Michelle Williams plays Claire Keane, who is one of his actresses in his original play, and they end up getting married and having a kid, I believe.
Yep.
In the movie.
Ariel.
But the woman that he actually loves is Hazel, played by Samantha Morton. This is kind of when the movie lost me. She purchases the house that's on fire.
See, at that moment, I was like, what is this? I can't wait to find out more about this.
When that happened, it sort of was the click of like, this is a bunch of pretentious bullshit. I hate this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the house thing, I wasn't sure how to interpret that. Exactly, but like the only thing I can come up with is like how to put it. It's almost like again, if you're looking at like people who potentially have like this need to feel some sense of control.
Yeah.
Like you find yourself in a situation that's maybe not the best for you, which could be an interpretation of that is she buys this house that's on fire, and there's talk about like she's worried that she could die in the fire, but it's almost like it's not a great situation to be in, but it's comfortable and you feel like you can handle it. And so you never try to change it. And then maybe eventually it is your downfall and you could have fixed it so many times over the course of your life or whatever, but you didn't. Like, that's the only way I can interpret that. I don't know if that's right, but that's kind of what I felt about that scene.
Well, here's the thing is this is the type of movie where right is not doesn't matter. It's what do you get from it? Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, for all I know, there is a reasoning behind it, but I don't know what it is.
I don't think so. I really
That's
don't
kind
think
of why I didn't want to read too much about it. But
yeah, I think this is a movie, which a lot of his movies are. Like, I haven't seen adaptation, but I think is very similar in the idea of like what do you get out of the existential dread that this character is going through? Or the woman who buys, you know what I mean? Like, there's 1,000 ways to interpret it, right? Because it is, and it does end up killing her in the end. Like, she dies from smoke inhalation.
Yeah. In metaphor, anyway, like who knows what that was really supposed to represent.
You have to take it at face value, right? Like there's no, because
well, it's like,
unless it's
I don't
all just
believe,
a dream,
I don't
right?
think
like,
that
I don't know.
I don't think the message was supposed to be literally she's going to die in a fire, but I don't know.
I know, but
like,
she signed up for it. Like
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what does the fire represent in her real life that did end up becoming her
just you
undoing?
saying that makes me cringe so much. I hate it so much. Okay,
man.
so as far as like the character or the actors go, Michelle Williams, any thoughts on her or Samantha Morton? Samantha Morton had a face of like, I kind of recognize her, but I could never place it.
Yeah. When the movie was over, I looked her up and I was like, as soon as I read what she's in, I'm going to be like, oh, duh, that's her. And honestly, I'm not sure I really know who she is. Like, I think I just recognize her a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michelle Williams was good. I like her.
She's good. She's been in more things.
Yeah.
Venom. I forgot.
She's another one, though. Like, when she leaves Philip Seymour Hoffman's life, she's just, I think, out of the movie. Like, we never see her again.
Yeah.
She's in the movie much longer and she's in it later, but like once they break up, she's pretty much gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Emily Watson plays Tammy, who ends up playing Hazel.
Yeah, she's playing Hazel in the play. Now, her, I really like her. Like, there's a couple of big roles for her that stand out for me that I've seen before. One being Punch Drunk Love, which is another really good. Like,
is she the second lead in that one? Is she the?
She's the one that he dates.
Yeah.
And she's just such a like fragile, like innocent person in that movie. And then another movie that's not a great film, but Red Dragon, which is like the remake of Manhunter by Brett Ratner. She plays the like blind girlfriend of the serial killer in that movie. And that's another one where she's just like so likable and innocent, and something about those roles. Just like I'm assuming we'll talk about her in a minute, but Diane Wiest, and like her character in Edward Scissorhands or The Birdcage, like those kind of characters, those really like
they stick with
kind of innocent, motherly, likable characters. But like I like Emily Watson quite a bit, and she definitely played a different kind of character than the ones I'm describing in this one for sure.
Yeah, she was interesting because when we first see her, she's just cast as
Hazel.
Right. So she's supposed to, who becomes Philip Seymour Hoffman's assistant. So Hazel gets married to someone else and has a kid or kids.
Couple kids, 3 kids, I think.
And then they meet up later when they're much older and she becomes his assistant. And then
because she lost her job because she worked in a lab and accidentally caused an outbreak of conjunctivitis.
Gosh.
Which again, I don't know if that's supposed to be literal, but I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. And then Emily Watson is cast as
her in
as
the
Hazel
play.
In the play, who's then his assistant, who then is following Tom Noonan playing Sammy.
Yeah, it's like the woman who Philip Seymour Hoffman's character actually likes is Hazel. She ends up falling for the guy who's playing Philip Seymour Hoffman in the play, and then almost as like a rebound, Philip Seymour Hoffman ends up with the girl playing Hazel, the girl he really likes in the play. Yeah,
oh my gosh.
It is so tough to keep track of all the characters at some point, because you've got like 4 degrees of people playing the fictionalized versions of one another.
Yeah, it's like meta upon meta upon meta. It's so
At some point, I really did wonder, like, how deep are we going when like the 4th person was playing Philip Seymour Hoffman's character,
but then Sammy falls in love with actual Hazel, right? Or no, he falls in love with Tammy.
No, Sammy falls in love with actual Hazel, or they start to like get together or whatever, and then Philip Seymour Hoffman's obviously jealous because Sammy is playing him. Oh, it's so.
But then Sammy kills himself in a situation that Philip Seymour Hoffman was going to kill himself, but was stopped.
Yeah. But again, I don't know if I take that literally. And trust me, I know even as I say this shit, I have no rhyme or reason as to what I took literally and what I didn't. So please don't fight me on it. But I personally didn't take that one literally. Maybe he did die, but I don't know.
I think he did die, because then they have a funeral and then they recreate the funeral, and then Diane Wiest becomes Caden, and then rewrites the story. It takes control and allows him to then live his life. I don't know, man. It's so. Last cast member is that we wrote down is Jennifer Jason Leigh, who everyone knows from Existenz, of course.
Existenz, yeah. Everyone knows from the movie I can't pronounce.
Yeah. Hateful Eight, I think, was the biggest one the last big one that she was in.
I feel like that was like a renaissance for her, or like
someone who's a big part in the 80s and the 90s.
Like single white female. She was huge from that.
Yeah. So she was fine. She literally has like 3 scenes at most in the movie.
Yeah. And then we did mention Diane Wiest. She ends up playing Philip Seymour Hoffman in the play at some point as well. She was good. And Tom Noonan, the guy that we said plays also Philip Seymour Hoffman at one point. And he was one where I was like, I recognize him. What do I know him from? And it's so funny because I just mentioned that in the remake of Manhunter, Emily Watson plays the killer's lover. Yeah. And in the original Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann, Tom Noonan plays that killer. I thought that was an interesting coincidence. Yeah. But then the other thing I thought was funny is he's in the Monster Squad. And I was like, who do you play in the Monster Squad? And of course I didn't realize because he's fucking Frankenstein.
Yeah, he looks like Frankenstein. Totally. That would have been my guess for sure.
Yeah. But
he was good too. Also weird because he's been watching Philip Seymour Hoffman through the beginning of the movie. He will just randomly pop up in scenes. I'm like, do they not know that there's a creepy old man watching them? Or is that just not, I don't know.
Yeah, but then again, I don't know where I'm getting this shit, but I'm like, okay, in the beginning I was like, so there's this some representation of his insecurity that someone's always watching him and he's got to be careful what he does and says, anything that he says, he has this feeling of oh, people are going to judge me for it, even if it's a one-on-one with somebody else and no one else will ever know about this because in his mind some creepy guy's watching him. But then later on it's I do think that he's supposed to represent his insecurity because he ends up stealing the girl that he likes in Hazel later on, which makes him jealous. And I just love to think about all that shit in this movie.
Let me ask you this, because so far you don't know what represents what or what is actually happening.
I don't.
So what is your interpretation of the film? Because for me, I just take it at face value, and what I'm seeing is what I'm getting, and we're just in this world that, like I mentioned, the lobsters, you just become an animal, right? And that's just the world that they live in, and it's just part of the world, and it's just normal for them. In this, there's this giant, impossibly large warehouse in the middle of New York that he begins constructing this play. Yeah. So for me, I just take it at face value, and yes, it's not literal in the sense of tangible in a real world sense, but it's tangible within the movie that it's presented to me. So that's how I interpreted the film, with, of course, there being metaphors within the metaphors within the metaphors. For you then, so how do you interpret this movie?
I mean, the part that I feel was obvious to me is he's a guy who's he's a perfectionist, to a detriment, because the whole thing, once he like gets the grant and the meat of the movie takes place, and it's all about he's writing this play and he wants it to be, at some point I forget what he says, but he's like, I want it to be great, or I want it to be meaningful, or I forget exactly the way.
Goes back to what she was saying, because she didn't go to his play, she didn't like his play, because he was just regurgitating someone else's play, right?
But so his thing is, and I mean, I'm not comparing myself to Philip Seymour Hoffman or Charlie Kaufman or anything, but like there's an element where I could see myself in this movie where it's like, you know, you and I are both artists, right? And we like to draw and whatnot. And there's this weird thing where like some of the artists that I love, like Daniel Warren Johnson, or who we were just talking about before we started recording or whatever. Have you ever seen those videos that he does on YouTube where like
the Friday ones?
He has like a billion sketchbooks and he just like fills them with a billion doodles and he numbers them, and then like he'll show them off on the show, and it's just like scribbles and doodles. And I see that, and there's a part of me that's like, God, I wish I could do that. Like, and I can't tell you, this is like a trope of, you know, artists, that I can't tell you how many fucking sketchbooks I own where I buy one and I put all of this like meaning into it. And then like I draw like 4 things in it, and then I just like lose interest in it and I set it aside. And there's this part of me that's like, I wish that I could just be as like free and just like do this stuff for fun. But it's like, as soon as I sit down with a blank page in front of me, there's a part of me that I can't break where I feel like it has to be perfect. And so I can never be imperfect like he is. And I feel like that's kind of what Philip Seymour Hoffman is dealing with in this movie. He gets this opportunity. He gets this grant. Again, if we can take that as being a literal thing that happens to him, which I'm taking it that way for whatever reason. Yeah. He gets the grant. He's got the money. He has this opportunity and he wants to prove himself. And so he's like working on this thing and working on this thing. But at some point, it's got to be done. You have to finish the thing, put it out in the world for people. But I think obviously the whole element of like he just keeps getting older and more sickly, and he just keeps building the thing bigger and bigger, and he fills the warehouse, and then all of a sudden the warehouse is big enough to hold an entire city in it, and then there's another warehouse within the warehouse because he's got to have the interpretation of the warehouse in the play. And before you know it, it's just this enormous thing, and you get this sense that like people stopped caring about him at some point because he could never fucking finish this thing and like accomplish what he was setting out to do. And that's why at the end it's like everybody has left and like the whole stage is abandoned, and it's like his obsession with perfection meant that he never just did the thing, and this feeling of like, I don't want to regret not being perfect, but instead you're going to end up regretting doing nothing, and it's like a state of arrested development. And then like that I interpreted myself, which I don't think is hard to get from the movie.
Sure. But then I definitely, I see that for sure.
But then the thing I did read, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I didn't even glom onto this, is it's like he's in this relationship with this woman who's also an artist. She does paintings. And as the movie goes on, like eventually when he goes to this gallery show of hers, the paintings
get smaller and smaller,
are so fucking small.
Yeah.
Right? That you have to wear these magnifying glasses to see them. And there's all the, like, she becomes this huge success. And it's almost this thing of like his one thing that he wants to be perfect and he's just never sure of himself enough to make it happen gets so fucking enormous that it takes up like an entire city. And she finds success with the tiniest little fucking things. And there's like a whole room full of them in a gallery. And it's just like the opposites. Like he probably wants to have what she has. He wants, like me, to have these 30, 40 sketchbooks filled with sketches that I can show off on a YouTube video. But I am actually like him, where I have like 10 drawings I'm really happy with, and it takes me for fucking ever to do them. And I identified with that. That's the way I interpreted it. And I think it's a pretty powerful fucking message.
Sure. I understand what you're saying. I'm
not saying you have to like it. Like, I don't think you don't understand what I'm saying.
No. I definitely understand and can 100% relate to it. But
maybe you're not like me, 44, and I only enjoyed it because I have these hang-ups, and I was like, oh, I feel seen.
No, man. Like I'm 44 now, and I am struggling through my midlife crisis. Like it is a real thing. So yes, there's things that I can relate to and glean from the movie in the way that the things that Philip Seymour Hoffman is going through. Like I 100% get it. I just don't like, this is not the way for me to experience it or enjoy it, or even try to understand it.
We're obviously on opposite ends of the spectrum
Yeah.
here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I can honestly say I get it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Totally. Like I in the same way, like I was when I watched this movie, I was like, oh my gosh, part of me dreads having to talk about this on the podcast because I feel like I'm going to be alone in the way that I feel about it. And
if you were to go out into the world or like onto the internet, I don't think you'd feel too alone.
Sure, but look, I mean, I knew who I'm talking to, and I knew that, we like film for more than just being like guy punches guy, and it's super fun. You know what I mean? Like we get more out of movies. Yeah, we do enjoy our action movies, and we do enjoy the horror and sci-fi and stuff. But you've got pages of Letterboxd reviews that are deeper than just like, it was really cool when Spider-Man punched the Green Goblin. You know what I mean? Like we can get into it. And so
I also have a shelf full of Criterion Collection movies that I've blind bought, and there's plenty of them that I think are pretentious shit, and I just don't connect with.
And it's hard because I want to. It's like I want to like this more than I do, but I just find it so pretentious and so like demeaning is not the right word, but I feel like I'm getting talked down to. And I don't know. It's tough for me. So
I mean, look, man. Like, no matter how great like Frank Quitely's art is in the last issue of The Invisibles, I still couldn't make heads or fucking tails of it because Grant Morrison was high on 17 different things when he wrote it, and somebody else who was also high when they read it maybe could get something out of it. But totally. It's like I get it. It's like there's the message, and then there's the delivery method.
Yes.
Right. And
that's
I get
a great
it.
Way
This
of putting it. Yeah.
delivery method's not for you. And I'm not saying like every movie that's like in this ballpark is for me either. It just happens that this one I really I said, I felt seen when I was watching it.
Sure. And I don't want to take away from that either. Like I feel like also as I've gotten older, there's less of me. It's like I'm right and you're, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to be right about any of this. It's totally, and this movie is so up for interpretation that I can understand why, like we'll get to the critic reviews in a second, but like it's split, man. It's like this movie is the greatest movie to come out this year, or it's like this is like dog shit, and there's like a lot of nothing in between.
Exactly. I think that all the in between is people who've never heard of or never bothered to watch it. Right. I think that's really where it is.
Yeah.
Like, I would be amazed. Like, I just can't imagine someone coming away from this and being like, Letterboxd review, yeah, it was pretty good, 3.5 stars. Like, I don't know if it's possible to have that feeling about this movie.
That's good. All right, let's get to the box office. The budget for this movie was $20 million. Is that surprising to you or not?
Considering, yes, it is. I mean, for all intents and purposes, even as like complex as the movie it is, a lot of it is just like people talking in relatively normal environments. But like, I would love to know how much of like the sets in the city and all was like CG, or like how much of it was actually built. And I don't know. I am surprised. 20 mil, I mean, in what, 2008? That doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah, I think that's probably on par for some of the other movies. Like, I don't know what the like Being John Malkovich cost, even though we talked about it. You know what I mean? Like Eternal Sunshine, I think cost like $2 or something like that. So
well, yeah, like Eternal Sunshine, like one of the things about that movie is like Michel Gondry, like he really cares about how he accomplishes a visual. So like the scene where Jim Carrey is imagining himself as a child under the table, and they built like the giant table, and then like they filmed it at like a weird angle, so it was like all physical and practical. Like, I'm sure that's difficult and it doesn't cost nothing. Yeah. But it's like, you know, how they did the forced perspective with Gandalf sitting at the table with Bilbo in Lord of the Rings, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like two tables, but it's like shot in a certain way, which, you know, again, you build a thing and you shoot it, but like some of the stuff, like that gigantic city inside the warehouse in this movie, like once upon a time they would have done it with matte paintings, but I'm sure it was like CG.
I think
backgrounds.
there is actually some matte paintings.
Yeah. I mean, it very well could be.
Yeah. It felt like it looked like it. All right. So unsurprisingly, the box office was only $4 billion. Like, this is not a movie that's going to bring in a lot of money. Now, what's interesting?
Well, I guess you'll tell me. I was about to ask, did it get a wide release?
Yeah. Well, so this is where it gets interesting. It debuted in 9 theaters on
Oh.
October 24th and grossed $172,000 in 30th place.
Hey, that's 8 more theaters than the Boondock Saints debuted in.
Sure. It expanded to 35 theaters on November 7th, 80 theaters the following week, and then the most theaters that it played in was 119 theaters on
Wow.
Thanksgiving weekend, grossing $285,000.
So, I mean, they didn't even give this movie a chance.
No, it never did. It never went wide. I mean, 119 is nothing. It stayed in limited showing until March 2009, grossing a total of $3 million domestically. So it grossed $1 million overseas. But it was in
Jeez.
theaters. It was probably in New York, in LA, and Chicago for like 4 months, 5 months. But that's about it.
Might have snuck into Toronto at some point.
Yeah, for sure. As far as reviews go, it has 15,000 fans on Letterboxd. So that means 15,000 people have it on their top 4.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It has and this is not surprising considering it's Letterboxd, a 4.2 rating with 250,000 ratings. So
Yeah, and that probably is, like we were talking about, people probably either love or hate this movie, but like as I talked about, like I hadn't watched it because I kind of felt,
intimidated.
Intimidated by the movie. There's probably a lot of people who haven't seen this, but if you're the kind of person who would like go out of your way to watch it, it's probably going to appeal to you. So it's probably a case of like, not that many people have watched it, but those who watched it likely give it a higher rating.
Yeah, and the Letterboxd crew, like honestly, the people that are on Letterboxd are mostly cinephiles, right? This Letterboxd is not IMDb. It definitely caters to a different style of movie-going audience, and it doesn't surprise me that it's popular on the Letterboxd site. So it has a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Fans or critics?
Critics. I didn't look at the fans. I should have looked at the fans. But 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's nice. Peter, some of the reviews. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian said, the film is either a masterpiece or a massively dysfunctional act of self-indulgence and self-laceration. It has brilliance either way, surreal, utterly distinctive, witty, gloomy in the matter that his fans will recognize and adore. 5 out of 5 stars. Peter Bradshaw liked it.
I mean, it's funny that he described the 2 hosts of this podcast in his first sentence.
Sure did. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times said, well, why will people hurry along to what they expect to be trash when they're afraid of a film they think may be good?
See, that's fucking me. Roger Ebert just described me and why I haven't watched this movie in the last 20 years.
Yeah. The subject of the film is nothing less than human life and how it works. Using a neurotic theater director from upstate New York, it encompasses every life and how it copes and fails. Think about it a little, and my God, it's about you, whoever you are. 4 out of 4.
I mean, even that, like, this movie wasn't made about me, but I sure as hell felt, like I said, that I saw myself in it.
Yeah. Jonathan Rosenbaum of the Chicago Reader said, it seems more like an illustration of his script than a full-fledged movie, proving how much he needs Spike Jonze or Michelle Gondry to realize his surrealistic conceits.
Someone from the Jesse camp.
Yeah. Maura McDonald from the Seattle Times said, Synecdoche, New York builds a wall of high concept, so high you can't find the good movie hiding somewhere behind it. 2.5 out of 4 stars. Wesley Morris of the Boston Globe said, Synecdoche, New York comes as close as any film has to explaining the epic indigeny of the creative process. Some great works collapse beneath their own abstraction. 3.5 out of 4.
You should take that one again. It's indignity.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to leave it in. That's fine. Claudia Puig.
I can't help you pronounce this one.
Yeah, Puig. Puig, maybe? Claudia?
Maybe.
Let's just call her Claudia.
I mean, the U could be silent. I don't want to insinuate anything,
Puig.
but it could be Claudia Pig.
Oh, yeah. Claudia from the USA Today said, a burning, smoking house that people mindlessly inhabit in Synecdoche, New York is an apt metaphor. What is wrong with this confounding, massively ambitious film? 1.5 out of 4 stars. Tell him, Claudia Pig. All right, where do you think Leonard Maltin is going to fall here?
I think he'll be closer to the Roger Ebert side of things. I think he'll see the value in this movie.
All right. Old Leonard Maltin on page 1378 says...
His review, go see Dark Knight a second time.
Yeah. All right. Names the cast. A tormented stage director whose private life is disintegrating... channels his frustration into a massive theatrical project. Screenwriter Kaufman, in his directorial debut, incorporates many of his darkly comic, non-sequitur trademarks at first, then grows melancholy and downbeat as his hero confronts the futility of his quest to understand what his life is all about. Clever and original, but wearing and not unlike its main character. The cast is uniformly fine. 2 stars.
Oh, uniformly fine?
I
mean, if anything, I think the acting throughout this thing is incredible.
Yes, I think the takeaway for me, the one like joy that it brought me was the performances. Like everybody in this movie is like on their A game for sure.
And can we just say, we went through that whole cast list and we only mentioned 2 men, but like what a cast of female actors in this. Yeah. And like Catherine Keener, Michelle Williams, Samantha Morton, Emily Watson, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and even Diane Wiest, who
steals the show at the end. I feel like she stole the show. She's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she comes out dressed like him, I laughed pretty hard.
And I wasn't even 100% sure it was her at first, because it's one of these weird things where like so many characters in the movie, you see them throughout different periods in their life where like they have like makeup on to make them look old or whatever. Yep. And I was like, is that her? It sounds like her. And then as I got to looking at her more, I'm like, it is, but is this her from 2008 in like old person makeup, or is this just what she looks like?
Yeah.
And then later she's dressed like Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it was like even harder to tell what I was looking at. But.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. All right. So awards, it didn't get many awards. The only ones that I found were the 24th Independent Spirit Awards. It won for Best First Feature and the Robert Altman Award, which is the ensemble casting director of a film, and then it was nominated.
What? The award is for, hey, everybody in the movie, good job.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's not the Best Picture. It's the Robert Altman Award. So I don't know.
Okay.
It's the Spirit Awards, man. They do some weird stuff. And it was also nominated for Best Screenplay. It didn't get any love at the Oscars or Golden Globes, despite, critics raving about it. It appeared on 101 Best of 2008 lists, with 20 of them giving it the #1 spot. Those who placed it in their top 10 included the New York Times, the Times, the Oregonian, the Austin Chronicle, the New York Daily News, Wesley Morris of the Boston Globe, which we mentioned with his review, the LA Weekly, and Roger Ebert named it's the best film of the 2000s, not just of 2008. It was, we mentioned Charlie Kaufman's directorial debut. And then you mentioned that Spike Jonze was involved when they originally were coming up with the idea as a horror movie. He was slated to direct the movie, but chose to direct Where the Wild Things Were instead. So
now that's a movie I've never seen because it just looks boring to me.
It is really boring. That movie probably could have used Charlie Kaufman in it. As a writer. I don't know.
So that could have used Charlie Kaufman and this could have used Spike Jonze.
Yeah, they need each other. But I don't know. Any other thoughts? Anything you want to mention about this weird ass movie?
Gosh, I think I've probably said too much already.
Yeah. So let's put you on the couch for a minute, Ryan. Let's break it on down.
Oh, we didn't talk about his fucking psychiatrist in the movie. Good God.
Oh my gosh. And then he's reading her book, which is basically a book of her thoughts.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
And what was up with her feet? Like at one point he like looks at the weird thing on her toe, but then I don't know if you took notice, the next time he was in her office when she sat down beside him and gave him her book, they never mentioned it, and I kept waiting for it to go into a close-up, but it's like her shoes were on so tight that her feet were turning like purple and disgusting looking, and I was like, what is the meaning of this?
No, I didn't notice that one. What about his daughter? What's your interpretation of his daughter and her on her deathbed and making him confess or beg for her forgiveness because of his homosexual lifestyle?
So when they brought up the homosexual lifestyle and she even had like a name for the guy and whatever, Eric, I think, I was like, I haven't gotten anything like that from the movie so far. So my only interpretation there is, his wife took his daughter away from him. They've been estranged for all this time. She's become like a completely different person than he would have liked to raise her as, with like the tattoos tattoos and, you know, all of that stuff. And then it's like insinuated, well, not even insinuated. They basically come right out and say that, like, you know, the tattoos were the fault of Jennifer Jason Leigh, who became her lover. He never seemed to like her, even from like that first scene she was in smoking pot with his wife after his play. And, you know, they have that line about how, you know, the tattoos are killing her, which I'm sure is just a metaphor. But she says that the tattoos were given to her by Jennifer Jason Leigh. So my interpretation of that is that, you know, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who doesn't probably like Philip Seymour Hoffman, has been just like lying about him and like influencing his daughter against him her whole life. And so like on the deathbed, whether or not he did get to see her on her deathbed, whatever she was dying from, he just wants to connect, and she like hates him for something that, you know, not that he's completely faultless, because he could have led his life a different way, I guess, but like it was completely out of his control, like the relationship that they ended up having. So that's my interpretation of that scene. And like she, you know, I could see, you know, Jennifer Jason Leigh's character siding with the mom and then making up lies to make her not want to, you know, reconnect with her dad or whatever.
Yeah, but his tearfelt apology, and then she rejects him, and then the tattoo.
Well, I mean, at that point, if someone's been like poisoning you against someone else, like just telling them what they want to hear isn't necessarily going to fix anything.
Yeah. It's just so sad though. Like that, and his performance, it is so good. It's like, so good.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so what is going on with is there like a war zone happening within the stage of the city that he's performing? Like, what is that? Tell me
about
at
the end?
Yeah.
No, I think it's literally like what I said earlier. I think it's this feeling of like I'm guessing that he, you know, just could never get out of his own way, and this opportunity that he had was squandered. And so he feels that like my whole life, like I always wanted to do something and I could never accomplish it. And it's just like him walking through the ruins that have been abandoned by like everybody who was on his side. Like over time, people just like leaving him and going off to do other things. Cause the one woman who's there with him at the end, he's like, where is everybody? And she says like, oh, a lot of them have died. Some have left. And it's probably just that feeling of like, I never accomplished anything, and all the people that I knew have either died or left me. Yeah, and I think that was just a visual interpretation of, well, here's my unaccomplished, like the husk of what I wanted my life to be. Yeah, 100%. That's what I think it was.
Yeah, uplifting for sure.
I mean, it's no, it's not that. That's for sure.
Yeah,
nobody walked out of this film with a skip in their step.
Yeah. All right, so we've come to the spot where we must ask: did you miss this movie, Brian? Did you miss this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I really question whether or not I would have appreciated as much as I did back in 2008 when I was like 22 or 23.
Yeah.
But
because you weren't in the spot to
watching it as a 40-year-old who still works a retail job. I think I missed this one. Like, and again, it like feels even more prescient because it's like been looming over my head for all these years. Like I should probably see that, but I'm kind of worried that it's just going to be boring or whatever. So like, I felt that little bit of intimidation, like sitting down to watch it, and then as it went on, I was just like caught up in it. So yeah, I mean, I do feel like I missed it, but I'm kind of glad that I waited until now to see it.
Sure. You saw it at the right time. Okay, so we've never defined what it means to miss a movie exactly, right? Like, do you have
I think once we define it, we take away its power. It's just, how do you feel, Jesse? Did you miss it?
Yeah. So I mean, I spoiled it. I did not like this movie. I did not connect to this movie.
If you say you hated it and then you still say you missed it, that's going to be a real head scratcher.
I think I missed it.
Not to tell you what to do.
No, this is the monkey wrench. I do think I missed it. Like, I'm glad that I watched it. I feel like which is kind of why I started with the whole, what does it mean to miss it? Like, do I have to like it to miss it is the question, I think. I don't know. Right. Much like the movie, I don't know either. I do feel like this was because of the performances, like, and how much I do love Philip Seymour Hoffman, and the performance that he gives is extraordinary. I'm going to say I missed it. I did not like the movie, and yet I think I missed it.
All right. Well, that's fine, I guess.
Which I think fits with this movie. It fits the theme of the movie. I didn't like it. I missed it.
I mean, I really do feel like, whatever you feel about the movie itself, like Philip Seymour Hoffman, I think everyone would agree is a really good actor. He's had some incredible performances, but if you really if aliens came to Earth and were like, show us the best performance by the one you call Philip Seymour Hoffman, I feel like you'd have to show him this movie.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it. Like, just
What's crazy is
the amount of emotion in this fucking thing.
What's crazy is he did this and Doubt in the same year. And Doubt
was really good, but I mean, that's not his movie the way this one is.
Sure, but there's a weight that he has to carry in that movie.
For sure.
Is different. And yeah, he carries the weight of this movie, and it's a heavy weight. Like I said, it's a big weight.
Yeah. Charlie Kaufman put all of his chips on Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's like, could he have made this movie with a different actor? If so, there probably aren't many.
Yeah. I don't know who
like
else.
Maybe a Daniel Day-Lewis or something.
Yeah. But even Daniel Day-Lewis almost brings a prestige, because there's a sad sackness that Philip Seymour Hoffman has as his character. And as great as Daniel Day-Lewis is, I don't know if he could play as big of a sack as Philip Seymour Hoffman. Maybe he could. I don't know.
I'll tell you one thing Philip Seymour Hoffman has that Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't, and I don't know if I can think of another actor who has this, but those two giant fucking veins in his forehead. Yeah. God damn. There were a couple of scenes in this movie where I was like, he's going to have a heart attack.
Yeah. Oh, man. Especially when he's about to have sex, man. It's got to get those tears out. All right. That was a fun conversation. I enjoyed that.
The least fun movie of all time makes for the most fun conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. That's going to do it for this episode. We will be back next week, where we will talk about a film called another one that's just going to like bring us up. We're going to leave the living room just feeling good. Revolutionary Road is what we're going to be watching next. I'm back for that. Until then, I'm Jesse Munoz.
I'm Ryan Miller.
See you next week for the uplifting Revolutionary Road.